I'm not gonna lie to you, I have been known to be a little bit dramatic from time to time, and I promise I'm not being dramatic when I tell you that the 5.5 months that I was studying for CBSE were arguably some of the more difficult months in my entire academic experience, which has been lengthy, okay?
Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, pretty.
Hey, I'm Maddie. I'm an oral maxillofacial surgery resident, and welcome to the inception of my YouTube channel. I am a third-year oral maxillofacial surgery resident at a 6-year program. I'm new around here, so let's do a little bit of an introduction. I'm originally from Southeast Michigan, born and raised. I went to Michigan State University for undergrad and then ended up at University of Michigan for dental school. They couldn't get rid of me. I matched into OMFS at University of Michigan, which is my #1 choice, and I love it here. I originally started my other content platforms because I really wanted there to be accessible, high quality, and really informational content out there about oral maxillofacial surgery, and not just about it, but how to actually pursue it. I felt like when I was a dental student, there was a lot of gatekeeping, and if there hadn't been the availability of older dental students or classmates of mine that were willing to share tips and tricks and information, truly, I don't know if I would be here. So here I am. I'm trying to be that big surgery sis for you guys so that you know everything that you need to know and have the best opportunity that you can possibly have to make it into this amazing specialty. With that being said, we are kicking off my YouTube channel with a CBSE series, which is arguably the most important aspect of your application to oral maxillofacial surgery. Dental students ask me about this one all the time. I think it is definitely one of the most feared aspects, one of the most anxiety-inducing aspects of this whole application. Don't worry, don't freak out. I'm going to teach you how to get a 75. Let's start at the beginning. What is the CBSE and why do OMFS applicants have to take it? CBSE stands for Comprehensive Basic Science Examination. It is basically a tiny USMLE Step 1, or the boards exam, the first part of the boards exam for medical school. Traditionally, some medical schools have used the CBSE to gauge the readiness of medical students to sit for the real Step 1 exam. So it's the same content as USMLE Step 1, it's just a little bit shorter. That being said, it's still a long test. It is 4 blocks of 50 questions. It's going to take you about 5.5 hours to take. It covers the first 2 years of didactics of medical school, so that includes subjects like pharmacology, microbiology, pathology, biochemistry, psychology, and probably a few more, if I'm being honest. Now, how is it scored? To be honest with you, since I took this test, they've literally changed the scoring system 3 times, so it's really difficult to calibrate. But I'm going to do my best to kind of walk you through the new scoring system that they use, which is equated percent correct or something like that. The reason that oral maxillofacial surgery residents have to take CBSE is when you apply, specifically for a 6-year program, especially for a 6-year program, your program director is going to have to take your application packet, take it to the medical school that their residents would be training at, and say, look, she already sat for this. She would have or would have come very close to passing Step 1 if she would have sat for it at this day and time. She's not going to fail out of your med school class or fail her med school boards. Right now, with the current scoring system as of 2026, the passing or equated passing score of Step 1 is about a 63% correct. That should be your floor. That's the lowest possible score that you should be aiming for. The higher you get on the CBSE, the higher your chances of getting interviews and the higher your chances of matching. A strong score, and this is just my opinion, but I would say that a strong score is somewhere in the ballpark of 75% correct. This equates to an old 227-ish and an even older 80-ish. This is all around like 98th percentile. That's going to be strong. So when are you going to take this beast of an exam? I would say that the ideal time to take it is going to be D2 year, but I think you should start thinking about it earlier. Why? Well, it takes like 5 to 5.5 months for most people to study for this exam. So a little bit of foresight here and pre-planning with some gaps that you might already have in your dental school curriculum is going to serve you really well. I also recommend taking it a little bit early because this exam is only offered twice a year. So you can take it as many times as you want, but you have to wait like 6 months before you take it the second time. The earlier you start dealing with it, the more possible attempts that you could have if you end up getting a score that you're not happy with. I think that there's a sweet spot though. I don't think that you should take it too early because D1 and D2 normally has very, very, very heavy course loads and normally really sets the stage for your GPA and your grades. Since there's so much going on, it really makes up a really significant portion of your weight. Make sure that you give yourself time to adjust to dental school and give yourself time to figure out how you need to get good grades. To register, you need to keep an eye on the AAOMS website. They release dates, and then there's going to be a link for you to apply. You're going to get a testing permit from them, and then you send it off to Prometric. A lot of these questions are second order and third order questions, so you really need to understand all of the different layers of what the question is asking in order to get to the final answer. That's what makes it so difficult. A lot of people ask me if their dental school coursework is going to prepare them for this test, and I would say unfortunately not, unless you are at one of the dental schools that incorporates your didactic courses with the medical students during your first 2 years. If this is the case, you're very lucky. Some of this stuff is going to look really familiar to you, and you're going to have a pretty easy time adjusting to it. If you are a majority of the dental students who are not integrated with medical students, it might take you a little bit of extra time, and this is going to seem even more foreign. With all of this being said, you might be thinking, okay, so how do I actually study for this? We've talked a lot, but you haven't told me how to actually do it. Do not worry. This whole first series is going to be an in-depth series on exactly how you can crush the CBSE. When it comes to actually studying for this exam, there is like resource overload. There's so many things that people use, things like Boards and Beyond, Anki, like whatever. There's so many options. You need to pick like 4 or 5 resources, and trust me, just stick to it. Really try to focus on selecting resources that you think you will learn the best from, not what like somebody else did, because what your friend might have done just like might not work for you. So really like take all that I'm telling you with a grain of salt. This is how I did it. This is how I learned. But you might find something that works a little bit better for you, or a different variation of what I'm about to teach you that works best for you. No matter who you are though, the resources that I think everybody needs in order to take and successfully pass CBSE are UWorld, Anki, Pathoma, Sketchy, Pixarize, and then I personally supplemented a little bit of YouTube videos from other creators. UWorld is a really big question bank. There's like thousands of practice questions. This is like your source of truth. This is your number one resource where you should be spending the most amount of time and energy. Please listen to me when I tell you UWorld is a learning tool, not an assessment tool. Kind of treat it more like a textbook than you would an actual exam. First Aid is a very popular actual textbook that people use to study for step 1. It's kind of like a big giant book of facts with little to no context. I would recommend having this. I did use it. However, you should probably use it more towards the end for like quick references instead of trying to read this like a textbook. Pathoma is an online resource. They also send you a great little summary book, but there's a ton of videos that are super helpful and cover the highest yield pathology topics and pictures that you're likely to see on this exam. Sketchy. Where would I be without Sketchy? I don't know how people take this without Sketchy. There are still some sketches that I watched years ago that for some reason I still remember what they do just like works. In Sketchy in particular, I would recommend Sketchy Micro and Sketchy Farm. There are a couple of Sketchy pathology videos that I thought were really helpful, like the nephrotic syndrome videos. But I feel like Sketchy's pathology and biochemistry sections in general, the videos like have a little bit less of like a great memory hook with the symbols, and they also tend to be pretty long, but I mean like dealer's choice. I would also recommend Pixarize. Pixarize is actually Sketchy's like competitor, but what Pixarize does really, really, really well is autosomal dominant diseases and biochemistry. I was like really, really sucking at biochemistry before I started doing Pixarize, and it helped me immensely. Once you get those things down, those tricky biochem questions become like really easy points. Now, I mentioned that UWorld is not an assessment tool. Your assessment tools are going to be NBMEs. Those are legitimate practice questions or practice tests that you purchase online, and then you sit and you take them like a real exam, and it'll give you your strengths, your weaknesses, and your estimated score for the exam if you were to have sat and taken it at that time. Another thing that we need to mention is Anki. Anki is a free online flashcard software. All of the med students already did all of this work for you. There are pre-made decks for a lot of these resources that I'm talking about, which I will delve into in another video and exactly how to use them. That's how you're going to memorize all of this stuff, okay? It's tough. It's really tough. So take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, make sure that you schedule breaks, make sure that you talk to friends, talk to family, have a support system, because it can feel really isolating if you're the only one in your group of friends or whatever who are like taking this big test on. If you made it this far, I'm so excited for you that you are considering oral maxillofacial surgery. I really, really firmly believe that it is the best specialty in all of medicine and all of dentistry. I'm so blessed and excited to be here and to be in this position to share this knowledge with you all, and I hope that it's been helpful. If you like my content, please go and follow me on Instagram or TikTok at MaxFaceMads. Also subscribe to this YouTube channel. More detailed long format content is coming. Bye you guys. I promise you're superstars. You can totally do this and I am going to teach you how.